Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Max, I want to figure out what went wrong. So you were buying duplexes, you were fixing them up, renting them out, you were making money, everything was going great. But then you decided to go bigger. You bought some bigger properties and ended up losing those duplexes. What happened?
We decided we wanted to get out of our comfort zone. We were doing the burst strategy with the duplexes. It was working like a charm, but we decided to purchase a 6-unit and a triplex kind of to add to the portfolio and try to run the same strategy with. And lots of things went wrong with with those two properties, primarily the 6-unit. So that's kind of like high level my experience in the real estate investing space.
Today on the podcast, we're going to see if we can figure out what went wrong. Did Max make some mistakes, or is this just a case of bad luck? I also want to figure out how making some mistakes on a 6-unit and a 3-unit can lead to you losing so much money that you have to sell off a bunch of duplexes. Joining us on the podcast today is Max Emory, who invests in South Carolina. We'll take a quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Max. Are you thinking about investing in rental properties, but maybe you don't know where to start? My friends at Mid-South Home Buyers make it simple. For over 23 years, they've been selling fully renovated turnkey rental properties in Memphis and Little Rock. We're talking new roofs, plumbing, electric, kitchens, bathrooms. Everything is brand new and done right. And here's the best part. Every property comes with a well-qualified tenant in place before you close. That means you get cash flow from day one. Plus, Mid-South continues to professionally manage the property for you after the sale, and they back it up with 2 powerful guarantees. You get a 1-year total maintenance warranty and a lifetime occupancy guarantee. Personally, I've bought 5 properties from them and I couldn't be happier. If you want to talk to someone that's been through the process, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you're ready to get started, just go to midsouthhomebuyers.com. That's midsouthhomebuyers.com. It's a lot of work to find a really good rental property, and when you actually find that property, you want to make sure you're working with a lender that can get that loan closed. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of loan programs, and she can find something customized to you for your situation. If you want to find out more or you're ready to get started today, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Max, when you started buying rental properties, you were living in California, but investing in South Carolina. How did that happen?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from South Carolina, and I went to college in South Carolina. I went to the University of South Carolina, the Gamecocks. And so I really just started with places I knew. I actually started with the Myrtle Beach area. We had gone there growing up, and I knew there was lots of vacation rentals and that sort of thing there. And my brother actually still lives in that area now. He's been there for the last decade. And so I started there kind of just on the vacation rental track. And this was back in early 2019, just thinking about kind of where I have a competitive advantage. Since I went to school in Columbia, South Carolina, I knew some of the neighborhoods, and, college students are always in and out and need places to stay and that sort of thing. And so I started looking around there. And it's a very small multifamily, rich, dense area. There's just a lot of those everywhere. And so I still knew some people there. And so I had some people I could rely on if I needed them to drive a neighborhood or something like that. So I really just looked at kind of where I had a competitive advantage, where I was familiar, where I could quickly call somebody to help me out if needed with something, doing it at a distance. And then it ultimately came down to the numbers. So running numbers on different properties. And, back then, especially with the burst strategy, it really worked like a charm in that area. So then I kind of got hooked into that market.
And then as far as the burr strategy, were you looking for full gut rehabs or were you finding properties that just need a little bit of touch up?
We were primarily targeting properties that were built like 1980 or newer, so not super duper old properties. And we really just wanted the classic like cosmetic updates, like that's what we were targeting. A few of them we got in, heavier than that, but yeah, if we could just kind of give it a cosmetic facelift, like all the bones of the property are good, so structurally it's good. If it wasn't, that was a red flag for us, and we wouldn't go forward with the deal. Plumbing, electrical, all the major kind of systems of the property had to be in, pretty good condition to where we weren't going to have to replace any of that stuff anytime soon. So yeah, just cosmetic updates is primarily what we were going after.
And were the properties like by the school, like were you renting to students?
Actually, no, like that was my original thought, was like, oh, this is easy peasy. Like there's a ton of students in and out. They need a place to stay. A lot of them prefer houses over, apartments. So, but no, we actually got into, a neighborhood in like Northwest Columbia, or no, sorry, Northeast Columbia, I think. And it's just, I would probably describe it as a C plus neighborhood, not college students, just like good, good working class adults in that neighborhood who, were working towards being able to afford a home, but just not quite there yet. So they're renting homes.
So let's talk some general numbers. Like what were you paying for the properties and how much were you spending to fix them up?
Yeah. So, each duplex went, and all these duplexes were in the same neighborhood, which was amazing. We could take advantage of economies of scale, but and we could also produce our own comps with that strategy. But each duplex was somewhere between 90,000 and like 110, 115,000, somewhere in that range, depending on kind of their condition, how rough the tenants had been on them, basically, and because all of them were kind of on the same level renovations wise, and when the last time things were updated, that sort of thing. So yeah, between 90 and 110 per duplex. And this was in 2019, 2020, 2021. And so we could fix each of them up. So both units, we could do some stuff to the outside. So, full cosmetic facelift on the inside. And then we still had a little bit of budget to do things on the outside as well, for 30 to 35K per duplex.
Okay. And then you would fix them up, do your refi, get your cash out, and then do it again.
Correct. Yeah. And we actually didn't wait to fully complete each burr. That we were kind of working everything in conjunction. And so if we had a cash gap, we would just go to our network of family and friends, and we would raise money from them to continue purchasing, whenever that opportunity presented itself.
And how many burrs did you do?
Yeah, and in that neighborhood, we did, I believe we did six, six in a pretty tight time frame, probably within a year.
And so, and everything was going good. You had a good contractor, you had a good property manager. Like it just seemed like you had a good system going on.
Yes. Yeah. We had figured this strategy out. Like it was pretty locked in. We had our key players in, everyone knew their parts. It was very easy to manage at a distance, and yeah, properties cash flowed, properties had some equity in them. So yeah, it was a pretty, almost like a turnkey strategy, but we were the ones turning the keys.
so then what happened when things went bad? So you bought a 6 unit and a 3 unit, and it seems like that's when things kind of fell apart.
Yeah, actually. We were, both my partner and I were just very growth oriented, and still are today. But, we kept thinking, and honestly, we kept hearing, on podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff that like, this thing about getting out of your comfort zone and, starting to do bigger deals that can change your life quicker and that, that idea. And so we said, okay, let's start looking a little bigger. Let's start to dip our toes into the commercial space. So, 5+ units, and start figuring out how people structure those deals and how the underwriting is for those deals and how the financing, just all of it. And so, we got a 6 unit. We actually got it, off market. We got the triplex off market as well. Both of them needed, full scale renovations, cosmetically, but we were under the impression structurally they were good and kind of the systems within the properties were good. That turned out not to be the case, which kind of led us down a money pit type of path. But yeah, so essentially to answer your question, yeah, we wanted to get out of our comfort zone. And so we started tackling these larger properties.
So what happened? Like what was different with those properties than the duplexes?
Yeah. It's 100% on us to do our, proper due diligence and to hire the right people and that sort of thing. But specifically with the 6 unit, there was just a lot that there was a lot that was wrong with it that the home inspection didn't necessarily highlight, or even have in the home inspection. And so there was some pretty major structural things that were wrong with it. I think the electrical issues were pointed out, and we had that in the budget accounted for because we knew to deal with that. We had to basically fully redo the electrical system for the entire building. But there were some structural things that were wrong with it that we weren't aware of until after we closed and we were, in renovations and things. And so obviously, structural issues with kind of this like large-ish, building that has 6 units in it, like 6 true apartment units. That was something we had not accounted for. And that was something that was very expensive. If I remember correctly, I think it increased our budget by like 80 something thousand or something like that, which is, it turned into a major, like full gut rehab for this 6 unit building very quickly. And there were a lot of plumbing issues and things that we encountered as well. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. We missed some major things on the due diligence side and, and then COVID was happening at this time too, right? So that was kind of an extra layer. And so it was kind of the perfect storm to, okay, now the renovations budget is double what we thought it was going to be. And it was already big to start with. And now the timeline has, more than tripled because we're dealing with some of this COVID stuff and now we're kind of limited on getting permits for things. And it was really a perfect storm.
So like looking back on it, was there anything that you could have done differently or maybe something you missed to pick up on the structural stuff?
I think maybe getting in some sort of structural specialist would be good if a property is over a certain age. Because something I failed to mention is, this property was outside of our buy box, right? Like we wanted to buy a 1980 or newer, and this property was like 100 years old.
Oh,
so,
right. Okay.
So I think, with a property like that, I think getting a specialist for each portion of the property that needs to be thoroughly inspected, I think that would probably be worth the money.
So like, why did you change that? Because it seemed like you had a great thing going with the duplexes that they didn't need a lot of rehab. It seems like you were renting them pretty quickly. Everything was going good. Like you had a really good thing going. Why did you change your strategy? Why did you go outside of your buy box?
Yeah. I think we just really wanted to get into a commercial deal, commercial, being a small commercial deal, being 6 units, but we really just wanted to start to get into the larger property space and kind of work our way up. And my partner and I both working full-time jobs at the time, also had other side businesses and just doing way too much.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't give this the attention it deserved. And so I think making decisions that weren't fully informed and we're just like, well, we really want to close on this deal so that we can, now we can say we're in the commercial space and we're working our way up into larger and larger properties. So we're willing for some reason to kind of, fudge on our spreadsheet and our buy box to make this thing work. And, maybe making some assumptions that just aren't, are too optimistic.
That makes sense. So it's like you got excited about this deal and you wanted to make it work, but you just overlooked the wrong things to get it going. So then, did you ever get the property rented out before you guys walked away from it?
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, the renovations just kind of drug on. And so, no one wants to live in a construction zone, right? And so as soon as we have one unit live, and we did some major things to these units and they ended up looking, nice and being of good quality and a good place to live. But, they were just hard to rent because we were still doing construction on the other units, so we did successfully get some tenants in there. And if the full building would have been done on schedule, I think we would have been able to keep it. I think we could have figured out how to keep it, and it would have cash flowed. But yeah, it just drug out so long, and I want to say maybe half the building was rented by the time we were able to sell it. And, like I said, this was during COVID. So people were kind of, pulling back from purchasing these types of assets just because no one knew what was going to happen, so maybe if we could have held it through COVID, then on the backside of COVID, after everything had, basically doubled across the country, maybe we could have made out better on it. But yeah, we something I haven't mentioned either is we had a hard money loan on it. That was just a part of our process. Hard money loan, get into the property quickly, be easy to work with on the acquisition side. And then if we need to raise money for renovations, we raise money, and we always know we can pay everything back just using that very efficient BRRRR strategy. But in this case, we went way long on the hard money loan, and so we were racking up extension fees. And our general contractor, who we had a relationship with for a good relationship for over 2 years, we ended up falling out with them, which caused us to fall out with the property management company who we were working with for over 2 years, who works closely with this general contractor, and ended up getting into a mild lawsuit there. So that's just something else that happened with this with this 6 unit. But we ended up able to get out from under everything, but it took a while and it took a lot of cash. So we ended up having to sell these awesome duplexes that were cash flowing and that had some good equity in them and that were amazing assets, just to cover our losses on the other side of the portfolio.
So to keep everything moving with paying the hard money loan, because I assume you weren't bringing in enough rent to cover the hard money loan.
Yeah, not even close.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're losing money on that, and then you had to come up with the extra rehab money with the foundation problems. So like, how were you funding that? Like, were you raising money or were you dipping into your savings, or how did you cover that on a monthly basis?
Oh yeah. All of the above. Yeah. We raised, we went back to our existing, capital partners and, raised more money from them. Obviously we were 100% transparent about everything. But these are, close, friends of ours. So they understood and they knew no matter what, they were going to get their money back with interest, because that's just how we operate. That's just our character. And we ended up acquiring, I think, one more private money lender to cover some things on this deal so that we could just get it sold. But yeah, we were dumping our personal savings into it. Right around this time, I had started my bookkeeping firm that serves real estate investors, which is how we met. And I was basically, the money that was making, I was basically just, shoveling it over here to the 6 unit to try to save us. And, I took out a home equity line of credit on a duplex that I was house hacking in Utah at the time. And, I used that HELOC to pour more money into it just so we could, keep it going and eventually sell it. But yeah, in the end, what really saved us was our portfolio of duplexes that had some good equity in them. So it hurt a lot to sell those. I wish I still own those today, but that's really what ended up saving us.
So you had to sell the duplexes to raise money to pay back your investors, pay back your HELOC, and basically those properties saved you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We were 100% committed to paying back all of our lenders, all of our investors, with the interest that they're owed. No matter what the contract says, right? Like we're gonna get them what they're owed, as how we see it. And so we were able to cover everything by selling those.
And that's such a shame. I mean, you had those duplexes that sounded like they were great properties. It's a shame that you had to lose them to dig yourself out of this hole on the 6 unit. Like that's got to drive you crazy.
It hurt. Yeah. I always tell people if we, whenever we made the decision to purchase the 6 unit and the triplex, we lost money on the triplex as well. But whenever we made the decision to purchase those, we were at a true crossroads. We had another packaged duplex portfolio that we were considering, again, in this same neighborhood that we already knew. But we chose to go the other route because we didn't want to get stuck in this one strategy. We wanted to start to expand. And so we said no to the deal where we knew we could make money and be successful to try the new thing, which I think is just a rookie mistake. That's a mistake that a lot of people make that are new to it. And yeah, I tell people all the time, if we would have just kept doing the strategy, the boring thing that was actually making money, we would both be in a just different financial, position today.
Yeah. I mean, that's just so crazy. I mean, it almost makes me think that it's maybe not better to go big, that if you find something that works, just keep doing it. Even if it's not as exciting as a bigger property, just keep doing the small, boring deals.
Yeah. And I don't, for me, it's not necessarily about, just do small deals and be good with that and make money with that. It's really just I think it's just focusing, we tend to see the new shiny object and it's like, oh, let's go over here. Let's go over there. Let's try this. Let's try that. But, because staying focused and committed to one thing, for someone who is of like an entrepreneurial personality, it's just tough. It can kind of become boring and monotonous. But yeah, I urge people, like, if you have a strategy that you have dialed in, you have systems and processes and people built around that strategy, and the strategy is actually making money, like, just do more of that, like 10x that. Don't go do something new that you're going to have to go figure out just because you're bored, or because you heard something on a podcast. Like, do the thing that makes money and that you can actually, because that was a very scalable model for us. We were tied to that one neighborhood, but our model was extremely scalable, at least for the next few years. And it was making money. So yeah, I try not to harbor on the past, and like, I'm so happy, like, all the lessons learned, like I have documented lessons learned out of that whole thing. Right. And those lessons learned have allowed me to do the things that I'm doing today in a much better way. But But yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah. So as far as like what someone can learn from your experience, so it seems like make sure that you do your due diligence, make sure you get a good inspection and understand what you're walking into. And then it seems like the age of the property was also an issue. Maybe stick to newer properties. Is that something you would do?
I mean, through our bookkeeping firm, like we serve a ton of investors, all different markets, different strategies, different asset types, old properties, new properties. Like I don't think it's about staying, with newer properties. I think it's just like once you have a dialed in buy box that works, I think it's just sticking with that buy box
Yeah.
until something breaks. And then it's like, okay, we need to, something we tell our clients in the bookkeeping firm, like our big thing is decision ready financials. And so we want to be able to look at the financial data and actually make decisions from that, like acquisitions, decisions. Let's tighten up the buy box or let's alter it because these types of deals are the most profitable for you right now, like things like that. And so I think it's more so about, just staying disciplined, to where it's like, no, this is my buy box. This is what I'm looking for. And I'm gonna stay within this buy box because like there's a reason I created this buy box, like it's based on experience or maybe even someone else's experience.
That makes sense. Well, if anybody wants to connect with Max or if you're looking for bookkeeping for your real estate business, as Max mentioned, he owns a company that does bookkeeping for investors. And I've got a link to his website on my website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 542. I'd like to thank Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking to buy a rental property, whether you're just getting started or you want to add to your portfolio, reach out to Chaley. She's a nationwide lender. She has a ton of different loan programs, and she can find something that works for you. If you want to connect with her, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. Make sure you hit that follow button. I put out a new interview every single Tuesday, and if you're following the show, you'll get notified when the next episode comes out. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.